Hello and welcome to the home of the Ghost Owl, and we're back for another one of our Total Warhammer 3 faction videos where we're looking at what other possible lords and heroes could be added to a particular faction. Now, we've just had the release of the roadmap, which shows additional legendary lords and heroes being added to factions and faction reworks. We've just had Harry the Hammer released as a legendary hero for Warriors of Chaos as well. So I thought we'd take a look at who else could be considered. Now, Warhammer lore is decades old. There are hundreds of books and stories, and we're not going to go into every single possible character there is. We're going to focus around those characters that were in either 8th edition or the last edition of the army book of that faction, or that had rules, had miniatures, or are very well known, that even if you're not an avid lore master of Warhammer Fantasy, that you would have probably heard the name or come across it. So we're just trying to keep it a narrow list of the most well-known, and with the first choices being around those that had, say, rules or miniatures on the tabletop. So today we're going to be doing the Empire. We're doing it in alphabetical order. The Empire, in terms of the game, is a favourite of mine since Warhammer 1. You know, I've really enjoyed playing the Empire, trying to unite it, defend against chaos invasions, greenskin invasions, and so on. So fighting against the vampire counts as well. So I've enjoyed the Empire in all the games. Though I have to say, Karl Franz's campaign right now in the Empire, I'm looking forward to seeing what rework the Empire are going to get. We know they're going to get one. So I'm looking forward to seeing where that's going, because I don't find the Empire in as great a place or as fun to play in Total Warhammer 3 as I have in the past. But we're here looking at lords and heroes, not fixing the faction. So when we look at what do we have currently, well, we have Karl Franz, Balthazar Gelt, Volkmar the Grim. They were all lords in the 8th edition army book. And we also have Marcus Wolfhart, who he was in the 8th edition book, but he was in there as a hero. And we've seen this in a number of occasions, like Loki Felhart, for example, where they were heroes in the book and they've been made into lords in the game. And, you can understand potentially why in some of those cases. But who else could be a possible lord for the Empire? Well, Kurt Helborg. I mean, I have to start with him. He's in the 8th edition book as a lord. He is the Reichsmarshal. He's close friend of Karl Franz, known as one of the greatest military minds in the Empire. And in fact, a lot of the battles that Karl Franz wins is actually down to Kurt Helborg. He had a cool miniature. He has full authority in the Empire when it comes to military affairs, and second in command only to the Emperor himself. He's noted as an exceptional warrior, as well as a tactician. So you could see some really interesting special rules around that. A fantastic strategy, but also bonus to buffing his own combat ability. So I think that could be really interesting. And has fought in battles as far as Kislev, and as far south as Araby. So he's been all over the place. I can't imagine the game that doesn't have Kurt Helborg in as a legendary lord. It just kind of needs to happen. So please, Creative Assembly, Kurt Helborg, he needs to be there. But who else could be there? Well, we got Marius Leitdorf, known as the Mad Count. He was in the 8th edition book as a legendary lord. He's the Elector Count of Averland. Averland obviously is a faction in the game right now. It would mean another Empire lord starting, legendary lord starting in the Empire. Right now, I don't think that's a bad thing. At the moment, we've got Karl Franz, obviously in and around the Altdorf area, and then we've got Balthazar Gelt in the south. But, the Empire gets overrun really quickly with Festus, with Kazrak, with Vlad. And so having another strong faction, trying to keep the Empire together for that bit longer so that you have the option and chance to unite it would be quite nice. And I could see Kurt Helborg as well starting in the Empire as well. So I think that's a bad thing. Right, we've got Boris Todbringer here. Now, Boris Todbringer is already in the game, right, because he's leading Midland. I really don't think he should be a DLC Lord in the game. He should almost be an FLC Lord because he's already there. Right, he's already in the game, so I don't think he should be part of a DLC. Do I think he should be a legendary lord? Yes, I think, but he should just be a legendary lord in the game. Like, I don't think he should be part of a DLC in that way. I just think he needs his status being upgraded. He's already in the game. He's just not playable as a legendary lord. So Boris Todbringer there. And I haven't highlighted him in green because I think he should already just be part of it and not part of any sort of future DLC. The last one on the list and is green because I really, really like the model. I really, really like the story that goes with this one is Elspeth von Draken. And she would add a very different dimension to Empire Legendary Lords. She would feel different. She is an amethyst wizard. In fact, she is the most powerful amethyst wizard in the Empire, known as the Dark Lady of Nuln. She came about into the game with Temerka and in fact was instrumental in defeating Temerkan, who was essentially a Kurgan champion of Nurgle when he invaded Wissenland, and and she, not only is she a powerful amethyst wizard, she sits atop a carmine dragon. So as a character, how she would look in the game, how she would feel and play in the game. She'd be a wizard like Balthazar Gelt, but would offer a very different dimension, a bit of a darker dimension. She'd be riding the dragon. So I think Elspeth von Draken would make an amazing legendary lord, and would give that difference of feel. Kurt Helborg, I think, is an important character to have in the game. How different will he feel from Karl Franz? That's the only thing around that. But Kurt Helborg, just by who he is and, what I think, he would be absolutely key to have in. But Elspeth von Draken would really add that different dimension to the Empire. And I think, when I'm looking to add legendary lords or legendary heroes to a faction, I'd want them to be varied. I want them to feel different. I don't just want to play 4 different Karl Franz with one different mechanic. You want them to kind of look and feel different to play, feel different, the campaign to feel different, and so on. So I think Elspeth von Draken would offer that. In terms of where we are with heroes, no current heroes in the Empire as it stands, but there's 2 real possible ones. There's loads of options, but in terms of where we're going with this, you've got Ludwig Schwarzhelm and Luther Huss, both 8th edition heroes in the army book. Ludwig Schwarzhelm, he is the Emperor's champion. He is often seen carrying a battle standard. He is the bodyguard to Karl Franz. I think the only thing with when you have legendary heroes that are bodyguards, would you see them in a Balthazar Gelt army? Would you see them in a Volkmar the Grim army? And with Ludwig Schwarzhelm, I could see that despite him being the Emperor's champion and bodyguard, he has been in a whole number of other battles and in other armies. So he's not always with Karl Franz. One of his things is he's often the emissary of Karl Franz towards other provinces for political reasons. So you will often see him in other areas as well. So not just always with Karl Franz. So Ludwig Schwarzhelm, I could definitely see as a possible hero. Personally, I would like to see Ludwig Schwarzhelm in there. I think it could be quite interesting, particularly, if you had him carrying a battle standard as well. I think that would be quite interesting. Luther Huss is another one, and it was pretty close run thing. I certainly, while I've put Ludwig Schwarzhelm as my choice, I wouldn't be sad to see Luther Huss be the one chosen instead. Known by some as Prophet of Sigmar, he's a very famous warrior priest. It would add a different dimension on the hero. Maybe he gets benefits around flagellants and some of the sort of the Sigmarite religion, if you like, around there. He's absolute anti-chaos. His whole story is him going around destroying beastmen, chaos cults, imperial corruption wherever he goes. The interesting story is the Archlector and Grand Theogenist himself sort of came to excommunicate the man because of the things he was doing, and yet there is obviously the story kind of like that the Grand Theogenist kind of knew something about Luther Huss that no one else knew, and dismisses some of the things that he does and doesn't excommunicate him. So Luther Huss, I think, and would be a good hero, would offer something different in there as well. So both of them, I think, are good choices. I wouldn't be sad to see either of them. Personally, I gravitate a little bit towards Ludwig Schwarzhelm, just because I think he would look pretty cool and could offer some interesting things, particularly around that battle standard. Keeping the sort of the general line infantry, the sort of the lower quality line infantry, buffed to higher leadership and stuff like that, as well as being quite a good frontline combat character. So I think that could be quite an interesting look. But that's my current view on the Empire. So there's loads of other people you could probably put in these lists. These are the ones that I've picked, say mainly based upon them being available as models or as rules in books and so on. But Boris Todbringer had him in there because he is in the game already, and no reason why he shouldn't be a legendary lord already. A bit like the Red Duke in that regard. So there you go. Look, if you like the video, give it a thumbs up. If you didn't like it, though, give it a thumbs down. Let me know why in the comments down below. But don't give it a thumbs down if you disagree. Put the comments down below and tell me that you disagree and the reasons why. And we can have a good discussion about who else you think could be a legendary lord or a legendary hero and why they should be in the Empire's roster. If you want to see more of these videos, then please hit that subscribe button. It's totally free for you to do, but it means a lot for me. So thank you for that in advance. You've been watching The Ghost Owl, and I'll see you all very soon.